Thanks for joining us on Over My Dead Body, the podcast hosted by Nicola Reeder and Carl Tate that aims to bust those myths about all things funerals and answer the questions you never dared ask. So stick in your earbuds, listen, and then send us your questions for the things we still haven't answered for you. Happy listening. So welcome back to Over My Dead Body, Season 3, Episode 9, or maybe even Episode 8A. Carl is still very much on holiday, so we hope he is having a brilliant time lying on a sunbed with a cocktail. But this week we are bringing you the second part of that episode we recorded all around grief and grieving. And for those of you who listened to last week's episode, you'll remember we talked about some of the definitions of what grief is, how it might feel different for everybody, and kind of more the theory of grief perhaps. Whereas in this episode, we're starting to get into the nuts and bolts of how we can manage that. How do we deal with all of those emotions that feel so powerful at the time? How do we help somebody on their grieving journey? What are the little things that we can do to just get us through each day and start making things feel a little bit more hopeful as we move through the journey? So we're going to jump straight back in to part 2 of this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you find this useful. Let's start with somebody who is recently bereaved, whether that's losing a child, a partner, a parent. In that immediate aftermath, the period before the funeral, when actually life is very busy, getting death registration, thinking about cars and flowers and music and very practical things, but are grieving, or are they mourning or grieving? I know there's slightly different terminology we could use, but what are some of the tips? What ways can they help themselves in those first few days to kind of cope with grief and what they might be feeling?
Firstly, remember you are completely normal. Secondly, shock and numbness is an almost universal reaction. So if you feel like you're not feeling anything, that's not because you don't care, is that shock and numbness is quite normal. And that can last anywhere between minutes and weeks. So for me, when my mum died, the numbness didn't wear off until after the funeral. And I described it as I could see it in a box, like it was in glass smoke in a glass box over there. And then it was actually 4 days, not the day of, 4 days later, the box kind of opened and the grief came out. So we're all different. So you're normal. Remember you're normal. Don't let anyone tell you anything otherwise. Try and shut your ears to all the useless stuff. Here's a helpful mantra for you. Hear the intent, not the content.
Love that.
They mean well. What they say will almost certainly be really jarring and rubbish. Forgive them, they know not what they do.
Love that.
The next thing is reach out to others. You'll kind of fairly quickly realise that some people are going to be great and some people are not so much. But there will be those people who just want to give you space. Tell them the last thing you want is space, if that's true for you. Because you can feel very neglected and very alone initially, but always you'll be busy with the funeral, I don't want to bother her. Say, I need you right now. So tell your truth, because, and I know it takes a lot of energy and it's a big ask because grief is also exhausting, but tell your truth so that others can then do something about it. And another thing that might be helpful to start now is a one good thing diary. So at the end of the day, when you're going to bed and maybe you're shattered and it's just been really bleak and you can't see a way forward, is write down one good thing that you did or that happened today, even if it was, I washed my hair. And if you write down one good thing every day, somewhere where you can flip back at it, and when you feel, oh, it's just been a dreadful time, actually, Nicola came round to see me and she helped me feel really safe. Or Amy, who was really always a bit distant, she's just been amazing. She called me today and I was really grateful. Or I got a really lovely text from, or I managed to put a wash on. I really didn't want to. It can be the teeniest, tiniest things. And then when you're ready, go, do you know what? I've got two today. I'm going to write both down. And I kept up. I got to 3 good things a day, and I did that for 2 years. And I found it just really helpful to remember that although the dark days seemed really dark, there's little bits of light, but sometimes we just have to remind ourselves to look for them.
Massively. And I think we've spoken, just on that point, we've spoken very openly on the podcast about Steve's sort of cancer journey over the last 12 months. And there were days there that felt really, really dark. And that was one thing I kept coming back to is, we just managed to sit in the garden and have a cup of coffee together. Or I managed to focus on one chapter of a book and get through it. Or I did one language lesson of Portuguese on Duolingo. I managed to get through. But there's always, I had a bit of cake. Even if it is something really small, it's just find joy wherever you can, or just not even joy at that point, but just something that doesn't feel as bad and as dark.
Yeah, a tiny win. Yeah, because sometimes looking for the moments of joy is a big ask.
Yeah.
But it's a little win. Getting dressed is a win.
Yeah.
Changing the sheets is a win. And then you remember, actually, that feels really nice. So maybe if I remember how nice that feels, I can treat myself to clean sheets, in a week instead of a month, because it's so in that run up though, when you're busy, it's find something that will help you relax, and don't be surprised if it's not the things that would have helped you relax before.
Oh, interesting.
So for me, my relaxation has always been reading. I'm an avid reader. I couldn't hold a book, couldn't concentrate on a book. So I would start to watch episodes of a program. In those days, going back a while, it's DVDs, but just something that was kind of quite uplifting, would have a happy ending. Just a short TV program or a comedy or something, just to kind of break that spell. So that might not work for you at all, but just find something that will help you kind of go. Take you a little bit of escapism.
Yes.
Isn't harmful. It is if you do it 24/7. You have to face up to life at some point. But a little bit of escapism just before you go to sleep, or a little bit of feel-good stuff. Buy yourself some new pajamas. Have a nice bath. Treat yourself to something nice smellies. Whatever the thing is that will help you, treat yourself gently and love yourself.
And I think one of the criticisms we sometimes hear of that when people say that is, but my world's just imploded. My world is in total and utter chaos. And you're suggesting that I go take a nice bath. And I've seen people really kind of fire up at that. And it's like, no, but the intent is to find that place that just gives what somebody's actually saying to you is not go have a bath, but just go and find a little bit of time for you.
Yes, find something. I recognise your world has imploded. When it implodes, it means it's really dense. Think of it like a really dense, that kind of dense matter. So it's when you're kind of all in that, it's kind of hard to see the way out. So then if we think of that dense matter as like the root ball of a plant, when you transplant the plant, it feels like you've been dug up, right, out your familiar world. Before we put the root ball back into a different, new, bigger pot or into the ground, we have to tease the roots out a little bit. So if it helps, I'm not saying have a bath because that's just really patronising. What I'm actually trying to say is find something that will help you relax, that will help tease out one little root.
Yes. Yeah.
One little root. One good thing in the one good thing diary, and something that will help bring your mind down. Now for me, it was phoning a friend, and I was really lucky. I had a friend who worked really bizarre hours. So I could ring him at 3 a.m. He'd be on the way home from work. Perfect. So that just connecting, that worked for me. May not work for you. Bath may work for someone else, not work for you. That's absolutely fine. But it's that you don't have to do everything today either.
Yeah.
There's always stuff to do tomorrow, and it will still be there. If you don't do it, it will still be there. It can be done tomorrow. You don't have to do everything right here, right now.
Okay, so brilliant advice there in those first few days. And actually, sometimes families will say to me, that was kind of the easy bit, actually, because I had a lot to do. I had a lot of people around me. I had lots of people cooking for me. I had lots of forms to fill in. I had lots of decisions to make. I had, particularly when funerals used to be kind of, the turnaround was much shorter and it was kind of 2 weeks. Now it's usually 3 to 4. But sometimes the harder time comes after the funeral, when life returns to normal for everybody else. And I quite often say in funerals, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your support for the family. Please don't let that fall silent tomorrow, because their journey is even harder. That's when grieving truly begins, after the busyness of this. So what about the kind of hints and tips? So how do people help themselves in that period moving forward from the funeral?
I'm going to go back to tell your truth. Here's the thing, grief is exhausting. And we kind of expect, and not unreasonably, we expect people to rally around us and support us. I think that's fair. However, I can hear my mum saying, well, life isn't fair, Carole. The thing is, people on the whole are crap at that. They really do. They'll support you up to the funeral. They go, that's job done, off they go, unless they've been through it themselves, maybe. So you kind of need to make a little bit of noise for yourself, and you can do it if you can't say it out loud, pop it in a text or a WhatsApp or whatever and say, look, I'm dreading the alone bit, the after bit after the funeral. Can we make plans for lunch or coffee or tea or whatever? Can we meet up the day after? And then someone else say, can we meet 2 days after? And just make a plan so that you're not alone through that. And tell people, if it starts to happen, that they start to go back to life, you have to say, I don't need space, I need company. And if you are supporting someone else, if someone says they just need to be alone, just check they're telling the truth.
Yeah, check that's not just them telling you what they think you want to hear.
And you can, if it's physically possible, rock up or call them and say, you can get there, are you absolutely sure? I have been known to just turn up on friends' doorsteps and just ring them up and go, I'm parked outside, do you still want to be in? Oh, right then, come in. And then they're really pleased that they let me in. So I'm a bit bad like that, really. So, but you do need to, and I fully acknowledge it's hard, you do need to say, I need help, or I want company, or I need support, or whatever it is your truth. And if you really do want to be on your own, it's okay to say so.
Yeah.
But try not to be on your own for long periods of time, because that isn't helpful. Countless research has shown that we do better with people around us. We are pack animals, we are designed to be around other humans. So going for long periods of time on your own isn't productive, particularly. So if you can avoid that, do. And that's where it's making yourself get out and see another human, even if it's the guy in the local shop while you buy a can of Coke or whatever. Make a conversation.
And when people do start to, I often use the word or the phrase, find their feet back in the world again, and start to think, I want to maybe go out again, I want to go and have a meal out, I kind of want to start feeling a little bit of joy in life again. How do they then deal with, there's quite often a guilt associated with, well, if I'm seen out laughing and having a good time, are people thinking I'm not grieving hard enough or properly? How do you manage that?
Well, firstly, that would be about them and not you. Secondly, you are only guessing. You do have no idea what's going on in other people's heads. Thirdly, you can't flip and win on that one, because if you don't go out, oh, she's becoming a hermit, she needs to get out. And as soon as you get out, oh, she's out already. So don't think you're going to win. So just do what works for you. So get yourself out and always have an escape plan. So what I mean by that is, if you arrange to meet someone somewhere, make sure that you can get home on your own. Don't be relying on them for a lift or something, just in case you need to leave early, and then you've got the guilt of making them leave early.
Yeah.
So get a taxi rather than a lift, or get a lift with someone you know absolutely is cool and comfortable. Look, if you need to go 5 minutes after we get there, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality. You don't know how you're going to feel until you get there. And tell your friends, and I tell to people, keep inviting your bereaved friend, even when they say no, because they don't want to be left out. But also be prepared for them to cancel right at the last minute or leave the minute they get there. Because I'm sure we've all experienced this, that it's actually sometimes harder in a crowd than on your own.
Right.
Because you might be ready to have a bit of a laugh, but actually when you see it, you go, yeah, this is too much. So you need to be able to withdraw and know that people go, well, she tried.
Yeah.
Well, she's left already, there's something wrong. So if they know ahead of time that this is a strong possibility that you might have to bail, and just say, have a prearranged code word, look, it's too much, so pigeon, right? So basically you're going to fly a pigeon home. If you have the right sort of friends, then they'll get it.
Yeah.
But they won't get it if you don't explain it, unless they have experience. And even then, some people just don't get it, right? So it does come back to communication from everybody. It's saying what's going on and recognizing that grief is very selfish, because it is the ultimate. It's about me. I'm grieving. It's about me. Other people may be grieving their version of that loss.
Absolutely.
So their grief may look, feel very different to yours. It doesn't diminish their grief experience. Even if you are more important in this person's life, their grief is still their grief. A heart is broken or it's not. You can't be a little bit broken like you can't be a little bit pregnant.
Yeah.
So it's just different. So accept your friends may not be up for the challenge because they're in their own grief. Accept your relatives, even worse, because then you've got the whole family dynamic stuff going on, where there's a whole series of podcasts on that stuff. So you can just do what you can do within your capabilities. Recognise you will tire more easily while you're grieving. Recognise that isolation isn't helpful. But grief is isolating by its nature because everyone tends to go into their own little things. And just send that one little route out.
Yeah.
Every now and again. I'm making finger gestures here like you can see me, it's hilarious. So just send that one little tendril out. And there are losses that will continue to come. So when you start to do that little bit of self-care, that one good thing, journaling, if journaling's great if you're into that. Some people go, oh, no. Any of that sort of thing that will help you feel a little bit more normal, a little bit more sane, then do it. And don't let fear of judgment stop you doing something which is helpful for you, because Sodom, they're not important. It's about them and it's not about you.
And just there's so much we could pick up on here, and I'm kind of conscious of the time, but one of the things I just wanted to touch on there was when you were saying helping you to feel a little bit more normal. Just really important, going right back to the start of our conversation, is that however you feel is not abnormal, it is grief. But what we're trying to get back to is what feels normal and safe and secure for you. What you recognise as, like you said, you were on planet insane. So for you is about trying to get back to what just felt a little bit more like you.
Yeah, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more connected to the earth for me. And it's okay, another really important thing, to temporarily forget for seconds, minutes, hours, they're gone.
Yeah.
And that too is normal, because your brain can't stay in survival mode forever. Yeah. Just can't keep it up. And that's not you doing anything wrong. It's normal. So you can have a laugh. I'm sure Nick will have far more experience of this than me. But there is laughter at funerals for a reason. It's that release of tension and this kind of societal norm to kind of be serious and hold it in. We do it because we here's the interesting thing is, I remember someone saying to me, it would make some remark, remember when you used to see on the news, it's going back, yes, I don't seem to show it now, where you'd see somewhere in the Middle East, there'd be a woman would throw herself over a coffin of somebody who died and wail.
Yeah.
And, we don't do that. Like, we wail. We just do it behind closed
Privately.
doors.
Yeah.
No, not draping ourselves over the coffin. That's cultural.
Yeah.
It's this cultural kind of stiff upper lip, keep it together, be strong thing, which no matter how we do try, because we don't want to disintegrate into a heaving mess on the floor ever. So when we get out to release the tension, it's laughter, but also sharing those memories. It's fun. Sharing the good stuff. It's fun. Remember, conflicting feelings. We can move from joy to utter despair in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
In loss.
And we see that all the time as celebrants when we have those family meetings where we're trying to craft somebody's story and to put a funeral service together. And one of the things I absolutely adore about doing this job as a celebrant is when you get to the end of that meeting and a family says, I was dreading that, but it's been really, really lovely going back over their life. We have questioning techniques that we use to kind of unpick those forgotten memories, those moments of tradition, family rituals, all the little things that actually in the trauma of even the most peaceful of deaths gets forgotten. And that's just brilliant, that collective memory sharing and, people laughing and, oh my God, what was he like? And, it's just brilliant. 100%. And I feel like that's a really important part of helping people to remember that there was all of this good in a life as well as the difficult at the end.
It's the whole life, not the end.
Yeah.
So one thing I do know is that grieving people above anything else need to be heard.
Yes.
So you've started that process of being heard, hearing about the relationship and what happened in that relationship is the story that you're going to tell as a celebrant. So that's starting that. So I tell people who are to tell your truth because it's telling, and find someone that will hear you, not wait till you stop talking and tell you their story. So as a friend, if you've got a friend who's bereaved or a family member who's been particularly hard, shut up. 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. Just shut up, let them talk. Ask the question, what happened, or what made them laugh, or what. Tell me your favourite memory or the favourite what, and just start getting them to talk about the whole thing. And if they cry, so what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just always have tissues in your bag.
Number one tip at celebrant school: always have tissues in your bag. And you just touched on there about, if you are trying to support somebody who's grieving, then shut up and listen. But what's your other advice for those of us who are supporting people going through any kind of grief in any situation? What are the right things to say, the wrong things to say? How do we help best? How do we know when to butt out and leave them to it? What advice have you got?
Firstly, it's about them and not you. So ask them questions that are about them, not you, and not necessarily about the person who died. What's happening with you today? So one phrase I avoid is, how are you? Because that's an impossible question to answer. But it's a bit habit forming. How are you? What do you think? But if I actually say, and it's also, you can answer it with one word, crap, or whatever. But if I say, tell me a little bit about what's going on with you today, you have to get something that's not a yes, no, or rude answer.
Yeah.
So avoiding the how are you, the yes, no answers, making it about them. They don't care about your stories. And if you do want to share a story you think might be helpful, it's like, I've got a story about that. Would it be okay if I tell it? To get permission first. The other thing getting permission on is if you just go around for a cup of tea to catch up and say, let's say it's someone called Dave has died. Do you want to talk about Dave today, or shall we leave him out of it right now? So they then go, do you know what? Can we talk about something else? I'm kind of sick of that. Right, I mean, of course you can. And if they bring it up, don't say you said you didn't want to talk about it. Just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Let the control be with the grieving person. And if you're the griever and someone says blah blah blah, say, do you know what? Can we not talk about that right now? And tell them, don't just suffer in silence. We're too good at that. We're too polite.
We're so polite.
So the other things not to say, well, just avoid the cliches because none of them are any good. These platitudes, oh, just give it time. Huh?
Time is a great healer.
Oh, but it isn't though, is it?
He's in a better place.
Lucky him. So all these things which will help you feel like you're doing something. What we're doing then is metaphorically saying they're there and patting their feelings down. And when we say they're there, never mind, it's literally saying, never mind how you feel. Never have a feeling about this. So when we are platituding, what we're doing again is patting it down. So avoid it. So instead of saying, I know how you feel. I felt like this when my grandma died. Number one, that's about you and not them. Number two, I know. Do you know? Do you really know how she's feeling? Because your relationship with your grandma is completely different to what she's feeling right now. So you have no idea. So something more helpful to say would be, I have no idea what it's been like for you. Now you could follow up with, the best I could do is remember how crap I felt when grandma died. If you want to go there, guess the best you can do is kind of go, I had something similar, but I'm acknowledging that it's probably not the same.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of the big ones. It's interesting that the language thing constantly changes and everyone's different. And here's the other thing to bear in mind. You're going to get it wrong. You're going to get snapped at because what would have been acceptable 30 seconds ago, due to how fast moving grief is when people are deep in the weeds of it, is not acceptable now.
Yeah.
So you're going to get it wrong. If someone snaps at you and say, so when you lost Dave, I didn't lose him, he's not down the back of the sofa. Just apologise and shut up. Don't make a whole big production of it and make it about you again, because that's exhausting for the grieving person. I remember someone saying, oh, this cheesecake's to die for at the funeral, and then proceeding to just utter all this word salad and trying to cover up what they've just said. And I'm just, oh, I'm sorry, that was inappropriate, and move on.
Yeah. And it's funny to know, we're currently in a heat wave, and the one thing that I'm sure every celebrant and funeral director is just trying to hold in is, oh my gosh, it's boiling in the crematorium today. It's red hot in there today. And you're just like, that's what it is. They're all glass and the sun's coming through and you're in your suit and you're sweating like anything, trying to get these words out. And you come outside and you just, people are saying, oh, is it boiling in there? Is it red hot in there? And then suddenly realise what they've said. And it's like, okay. Yeah, we all know where we are. There's no hiding it. We know what's going on behind the wall there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of things. We all do it. And so but the most important message there, you'll make a slip of the tongue or you'll say something that was fine yesterday, it's not fine today. Just roll with it. You're not going to get it wrong. You're not going to get it right 100% of the time. I've been doing this for 18 years. I'll still get people snap at me.
Yeah.
Because you just cannot do it right 100% of the time.
And one of the things I think I've picked up from working with families is to mirror their language. So there are families who use phrases, passed away, lost. And if very early on I hear that language, that's the language I use. If I hear very early on, oh yeah, well, Dave died last week, it's like, okay, they're using the word died. That's okay. And you can very easily tell the language that somebody's comfortable with. And I've always thought, oh, I'll just mirror what they're using. Is that the right way to do it?
Well, there's a couple of schools of thoughts on that.
Okay.
So your role as celebrant is quite different, actually, to the to roles of if you're friends. So I always use died, not past. Even if they've just said past or lost, I always use died. One is because they said it, it might not be okay for you to say it.
Okay. Yeah.
Two, time has moved on in that minute, and actually it's not okay now because their grief has changed shape in that. And three, particularly as a celebrant, part of the job of the funeral is to help us accept the permanence of the situation. And past and lost is not permanent. Lost can be found. Past can come back. Dead is dead is dead. So saying dead and died might make people wince a little bit, because it's like, oh, it's that having to accept that this is real. But there's always an exception. But there's not usually going to be an angry response to when did you lose him, which can provoke up. Even if they said, well, we lost him to cancer. When did you lose him? Well, I know where he is.
Yeah.
So that's why. Now, on the other school of thought is, mirroring is because you're then instantly in the same place and rapport. So that's why I'm saying it can work, usually does, might not.
Be careful, yeah.
So there's nothing works 100% of the time.
There are, up in North Yorkshire, we have some very funny Yorkshire, down-to-earth, pragmatic characters. And I have, on more than one occasion, rung a gentleman whose wife has died and said, I'm so sorry to hear you've lost your wife. And they've gone straight away, well, I hope you haven't. I hope she's rested at your funeral home. And you think, yes, exactly. She's not lost. We all know where she is. So,
yeah.
And that builds a relationship in itself. So.
It does, if they can laugh about it at the time, depending on where they are in their pain. A good friend of mine, when her husband died, and she rang his best friend and she said, I've lost Keith. And he said, when did you last see him? So it really doesn't work in a notification. Yeah. So you've got to be really, here's the thing. There's no right and there's wrong, but there's just generalisation. So generalisations, just again, keep it back to make it about them. So mirroring your language is kind of about them. Just don't overuse it. I'm sure you don't, you're a pro. But also be mindful of just looking to see what the micro expressions are doing and see if that's landing. Okay, and then you can adjust. I'm sure you do this. You can adjust your strategy accordingly. But it's platitudes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss is one that will either land well or spectacularly badly. And they did a survey and it literally came out 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I always think the response to that is, why are you sorry? You didn't kill them.
Yeah.
What are you sorry for?
Yeah, so, and I think what it seemed to come down to is the tone in which it's delivered. So if you are heartfelt, and so I'm sorry to hear of your loss, works better because you didn't, I'm sorry for your loss is like implying causality.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So so that can make the difference. But if you say it in a tone which is heartfelt and truthful, it will land better than if it's like, sorry for your loss, have a nice day, my condolences, that kind of automatic, I have to say this because it's part of what you're supposed to say feeling, then it will always land badly. So sorry for your loss, and I know how you feel, to worst.
To the worst.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you two final questions before we wrap up. So one would be a bit of advice on those greeting lines coming out of funerals, as you file out and you meet the family outside and the family will have to listen to 100 I'm sorry for your loss. I have no words. I don't know what to say. People coming out, the congregation, for want of a better word, what are the sorts of things they could say to a family that would be different and meaningful?
And speak from your heart. And talk about the person. Talk about the person. So Dave might have been a bit embarrassed by that, mightn't he? Honestly, Dave would have really enjoyed that. Dave would have been amazed at how many people have said, just make it about the person who died. And it doesn't have just literally a sentence, because there's a cue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
So you have to keep it short. It can be as simple as, there are no words.
Yeah.
If you're tongue-tied.
Yeah. There
are no words. I can't imagine how much you're missing. Something along those. Just keep it really short. But avoid. Sorry for your loss.
Yeah. And there's always something in a service now in terms of, I love that photograph of you on your wedding day. That was gorgeous. And move on. Or I remember that time when he got really drunk and took his trousers off and cartwheeled down the high street. It was brilliant. And kind of, just to show that
he had no idea he could fly.
Yes.
That, as in, he was a pilot or something, just exactly. You've never seen pictures of it. So you can share something that you learned from the service, because if it's done right, there should be something that you knew that you learned.
Yeah.
Because it's come from different aspects, like his work, his personal life, or whatever. There can be hers. I'm just using Dave because I got stuck on Dave a little back. I don't know where Dave came from. Sorry, there was another question and I'm still rabbiting and going.
No. So the kind of final question. So if somebody is currently now listening to this in the depths of despair, 3:00 in the morning, just struggling with grief, not finding a way, not knowing what the way forward looks like, what would you want them to hear from this episode that would really help them?
You are enough. And you will, even if you don't want to, you will get through this. It is possible. And I have seen it. You are enough.
And I would echo those comments 100%. That's normally Carl's phrase, 100%. So we are channeling Carl, even though he's not here, because there are so many, kind of 1,100 services that I've done, met so many people who say, I just don't know how I'm going to get through this. And it's like, you will, because every single family that I've worked with before has. Not easily, not painlessly, not without a lot of tears and anger and laughter, but you will get through this, because so many people have before you. And that doesn't mean you have to do it the same as them, or be the same as them, or feel the same as them. But there will be some light at some point that's right for you in the future.
Yeah. There's no right way to do it. And don't let anyone else tell you that there is.
Yeah.
Because you are enough, and you will work it out, and you will do the right way for you. And if you get stuck, ask for help.
And don't be scared of being who you need to be to get through grief, I guess.
No, exactly. Yeah.
You do it your way.
Do it your way.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I feel like we could have spoken for another hour on this, and I feel like we're going to get lots of messages going, oh my God, can you get that lady back on? And can she answer this? Can she answer this? Can she answer this? So I think we might need a follow-up episode. But Carole, if people wanted to know a bit more about you and your organisation and how you might be able to help, where do they find you?
They find me at edu-therapy.uk. So that's edu, which is short for education. Remember, I'm an educator. edu-therapy.uk. And that's got my phone number and everything on there, and you can find out a little bit more about what I do.
Perfect. And there's a great website for anybody who needs a bit of help, who's thinking they might be inspired to help other people out there. Might be something that Carl and I touch on in the future, perhaps. But yeah, edu-therapy. Head there and have a look at everything that Carole does. So Thank you so much. What a brilliant episode. If any of our fabulous listeners have any other questions or queries or things you want us to answer, as always, please do get in touch, and we will be back with the next episode very soon when Carl finally gets off his sun lounger and comes back and does some of the work. So thank you for listening to this episode. And my thanks to Carole while you're still here. Carole, thank you so much.
Me. And let me talk so much.
Amazing episode. So thank you for listening, guys, and we will catch up with you soon. Thank you for listening, and we really hope you enjoyed and were inspired by this week's episode. Remember that you can get in touch with us anytime to ask a question, offer to be a guest, or to request that we bust a particular myth. You can get in touch via any of our social accounts over My Dead Poddy on Facebook, Insta, or TikTok, or you can drop us an email at overmydeadpoddy@gmail.com. Just a reminder that whilst all of us work in the funeral industry, none of us are fully qualified grief counsellors. And therefore, if you've been affected by any of the issues that we've discussed today, we highly recommend that you seek out professional or medical support to help you with those conversations. Should you need any support, please do get in touch and we can hopefully signpost you in the right direction. But we can't offer those services ourselves. Thanks for listening, and we can't wait to bring you the next episode.